Hello and welcome to That Atheist Show. I am Preston, that atheist.
And I'm Connie, that atheist lady. And welcome to the first episode of That Atheist Show.
What we'd like to talk about today is introduce ourselves and also explain a little bit about what atheism is. Atheism is the complete denial Hello and welcome to That Atheist Show. I'm of a deity or entity with supernatural powers, say Zeus or Jehovah or Jesus or anything like that. Any kind of supernatural entity that has the ability to create the universe with a few words or strike down lightning wherever it chooses. We have the complete denial of that. So, one of the things that we'd like to go into first is introducing how we came upon atheism, what led us to it. So, Connie, what made you an atheist?
Well, I didn't go to church whenever I was really small or anything. My dad didn't take me to church or anything. But whenever I was about 10 or so, a friend invited me to church, and I went just because it was something to do. And I never really fully believed it, I don't think. I always thought it was a little bit weird. It was a Pentecostal church, was the first church I ever went to, and then later on I went to a non-denominational church, and I didn't ever fully believe it. So I think I might have been an atheist the whole time, but it wasn't until when I was 15 years old and I went on a mission trip to the Dream Center in Los Angeles that I decided that it wasn't a good idea for me to even passively be involved in religion, even though I didn't believe in it. Like I felt like I just shouldn't be involved in it anymore at all because it sickened me and it made me really upset at the way they went about helping people because they weren't really it didn't feel like they were genuinely trying to help people. It felt like they were just trying to get people to join the church and just to get more members because they wouldn't feed people unless they sat through a service. They wouldn't help like let them be in the drug program, like the addiction programs and things, unless they went out and proselytized to people on the streets and got more people to come into the church. And it just really rubbed me the wrong way because I went on the mission trip because I genuinely wanted to help people, and I don't feel like while I was there that I helped people. I mean, I helped people, but I don't feel like I helped people in a genuine way. It felt like I was more pushing Jesus on people than helping people, and that really upset me. So after that, I never went to church again, and I would start to actually tell people that I didn't believe in God. And then that eventually snowballed into this, what you see today, that where I'm actually very, you know, anti-religious charities. I mean, not the good things they do, but I'm the way that they do it, and very vocal atheist because I don't feel that those things are right. And so that's how I got here. And so, Preston, why are you an atheist?
Basically, I went to Catholic school, had religious studies pretty much every day. I would read Bible verses, the cherry picked ones, of course. And we would go into the church and sing hymns every week. And I moved to Florida when I was 12 years old with my mom. And her brother, my uncle, was a youth pastor in a Christian Baptist church. So I ended up joining his youth group naturally. And when other kids would join and other teenagers and stuff would join in, he would tell me to go and talk to them, and because I was a very sociable person, and I would basically make sure that they stayed is basically his agenda for having me there. And I did recruit a lot of people. I did bring a lot of people into the church, and we used to do a lot of fundraisers and things like that. I spent a lot of time in the church, just studying with him and things like that. And then my brother came to visit, and he brought Nine Inch Nails and Tool. Those are big influences to my atheism because they were basically speaking blasphemy, and I was just wondering, how can they speak this blasphemy and still exist and they're happy and living their lives? I did not know it was possible to not believe in God because I had grown up with it. When I heard them speaking these things, I felt a shock to my faith, I guess you could say. And I started investigating a little bit more, and then I decided to do a test when I was about 14 years old. Basically, I walked into church listening to the song Heresy by Nine Inch Nails. No lightning bolt struck me, and I was like, well, I mean, he really must not exist. And everything they're saying makes sense, where everything in the Bible only made sense because it was the only thing I knew. The moment I saw it from another perspective, it just blew my mind to how I could believe it in the first place. So that led me to the complete dismissal of all kind of deities and entities, which is basically what atheism is, dismissing that as an actual fact. So one thing that we have in common as atheists is we support and promote the separation of church and state. God's law should have no effect on the law of the land, because if God doesn't exist, then we're really listening to a bunch of ancient men telling us how to live our lives in modern times. That just should not ever be an option. So what we're going to get into is a situation happening currently in Hawkins, Texas. The mayor of that town is trying to have this sign held up. We're going to have...
Okay, so in Hawkins, Texas, there is a sign up in town, and it says, Jesus welcomes you to Hawkins. And there are some major issues as far as separation of church and state go with this sign. First of all, it is on public-funded land. It's on taxpayer-funded, maintained land. It was funded kind of in a convoluted sort of way. It was funded by the city taxpayer money because they took up donations to pay for the sign, but the largest donor was city council. And where does city council get its money? City council gets its money from taxpayers. And then the third major issue here is that the sign was constructed at the high school's shop class. So the shop class constructed this sign. So not only is it sitting on public land and it was funded by public money, they used public school time to make it, and like it was like a class assignment to make the sign. So there's just a whole lot of issues here, and all they would have to do now that the Freedom from Religion Foundation is involved, all that the Freedom from Religion Foundation is asking them to do is to move the sign back 600 feet so that it is sitting on private property. But the mayor doesn't want to do this because he believes that prayer should be back in public school. He believes that God and Jesus and Christianity belong in government. So he's going to fight this and cost the city money, fighting this battle that's unconstitutional, just because of his own beliefs. Exactly.
only a violation of church and state, but it's also a violation of religions being taught or being promoted in a public education scenario. Like, you're not supposed to impose one religion into a school area upon kids being educated. That's just not how it's supposed to work. There's so many religions out there that people believe in. You're basically telling everyone else, you're all wrong because we're teaching our kids this. That's what creates wars. That's what creates separation within the country, within our own race. It's insanity.
Exactly. And then so there is not the atheist that we don't even know if the person who reported it to the Freedom from Religion Foundation is actually even an atheist, but somebody in town reported it to the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And that is how the Freedom from Religion Foundation got involved in this. Well, there's an atheist in town that spoke in the city council meeting about what he thinks about this. And we very much want to bring an atheistic perspective to things. And I think it's very interesting that there's actually, because a lot of people say there's no atheists in the South anyway. There's this whole town's Christian, blah, blah, blah. But no, there are plenty of atheists here in the South. I'm in the South myself. So I we're going to play this clip here of an atheist in the town of Hawkins and what he is trying to explain to the mayor, and then the mayor's response to that. So here, just give this a listen.
Mr. Mayor, distinguished council members, and citizens of Hawkins and the surrounding communities, my name is Nathaniel Walters, and I'm an atheist. I love this town. I love what this town stands for. I love what every town in this great country stands for. And I've been to 42 states. 42 states that love their towns as much as you love your town. And you know what? All of them practice the exact same freedoms that we practice here. Those freedoms are not being infringed upon. I'll tell you this. I was in the Midwest in Kansas City. And there was a hubbub there about somebody trying to stop a young lady from praying before she was eating at lunch. Do you know who was there speaking up for her?
You.
I wasn't, no. But atheists were. People from the Freedom from Religion Foundation were. People from secular America were. This is not an infringement upon your rights any more than it is upon anybody else. We don't want a sign on public property that says, Muhammad welcomes you to Hawkins. We don't want a sign. We stand up against that as much as we do against Jesus. And by the way, it doesn't matter what the majority says. We're in a constitutional republic. The constitutional republic is there to keep the majority from becoming too powerful. I love every one of you as people. And I love the fact that you have the ability to worship. And to worship how you will and where you will. And nobody's trying to take it away from you at all. I am in favor of moving that to private land. In fact, I have two neighbors. Both of them have wonderful little signs that say Jesus is Lord in their yards. And guess what? It's in their yards. It's on their private property. And I do not care one bit. And they don't care that I'm an atheist. I'm in my own house. You can go to church. You can go to school and be a Christian. We're not asking you to demolish some sign. Not even a little bit. I love this country. Our founders, I'm not going to get into the fact that they were deists and not Christian there, Mayor, but we came here for our religious liberties. And those religious liberties extend beyond just the Christians and just the Muslims and just the Taoists and just the Buddhists. It extends to everybody in this country. I will not tell you cannot worship. In fact, I will stand up for you and all of your children if anybody ever tells you cannot worship. And you know what? So will the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And so will secular America. And everybody that I know and speak with. Are there people who are going to come from way out left and way out right? They're going to say things they shouldn't say? Yes. People tell me, without knowing me all the time, some negativity and some hatred. You know what? I love them.
Hey, excuse me.
And I'm sorry.
Okay, you're close on your 5 minutes.
I apologize. You know what? I love all of you, and I really hope to make the right decision.
Thank you.
Praise
Appreciate
the
you.
Lord.
One thing I would say to you, I do.
Can you? Because I'm already past my 5 minutes. Can I respond?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Well, let's give him a little bit more time to respond to me if you could. Sure.
Because I'm happy to have an articulate conversation with you, Mayor.
One thing I want to say to you about the majority,
Go ahead.
what you brought up about the majority,
Go ahead.
that the majority doesn't rule in because we're a republic. Am I right? So that is what you said.
Our Constitution prevents the majority from becoming too powerful.
Okay. Let me give you one example. Let me just give you one example of when the majority didn't rule, and that was under Hitler. So
This is
that's what I'm
America. That is Germany. That doesn't even make any sense.
I'm just telling you, whenever
That is a horrible example, Mayor.
That's a great example.
No, it's
because
not.
when you take away,
That was a dictatorship and a totalitarian.
You leave your 5 minutes, let him speak.
whenever you take the power away from the people,
How is it trying to be taken away from you?
are you done
He said his
speaking,
5
sir?
minutes, Mr.
Are you going to allow me to finish what I'm saying?
No.
I allowed you to
Mayor.
speak without interruption. Now let me speak.
Mayor.
You're
Yes.
not supposed to speak
5
against me.
minutes is up, right?
Have a seat, gentlemen.
Thank
Sir,
you.
appreciate you giving your opinion, and you're always welcome to give us your opinion.
Janice.
As I
That's
said,
Walters.
and I won't be speaking to you, I'll speak to the crowd. When you take away the majority, what happens with that? Tell me what, it's common sense that tells you, when you take away what the majority of the people want, what do you have? Tyranny is exactly right. When you look at the news today, what do you see on the news today? Wars and terrorism and all these problems. Has it gotten any better taking prayer out of school? Let me ask you that. No. Did it do any good? No, it hasn't done any good. And that's what I look at is where are we at as a country? Did we do something wrong? I believe we did do something wrong. And we need to correct what we did wrong.
Both of my children
So
pray.
now,
Alright, well, I just want to start off by pointing out that the entire clip was just a little bit over 5 minutes, and they gave him 5 minutes to speak, and he started speaking at 25 seconds. So he didn't even get 3 minutes to talk because the mayor, was talking for about 2 minutes. So another obvious thing to point out is that you can just detect the arrogance in their voices. I mean, they are literally ignoring what he's saying and just asserting their beliefs onto him, saying that, first off, America is a Christian nation, and ignoring that the founding fathers were deists.
Yeah, and also, if you notice at the very, very end there, he says, "Oh, and you're always welcome at church." And I'm just like, really?
Says
Yeah.
to not have religious things on public property.
Yep. The Constitution is the law of the land here in America. And this mayor and other religious people like him don't seem to understand that even their own beliefs should prevent them from behaving in this manner. But they don't actually know what the Bible they don't actually know what it says, and they just kind of go by what pastors tell them. And as you can see, as you heard in the clip, whenever the mayor starts talking and he talks about Hitler, and he uses all of these scare tactics and buzzwords, and it gets the other townspeople there to come in and go, yeah, we don't want to be like the Nazis, and none of it even makes sense. It's
Said the majority got their way or didn't get their way. He said that the majority did not get their way in Germany, and
yeah.
that would be implying that the Jews were the majority, to where they were not. It was the blonde, blue-eyed Germans that were the majority, and they did get their way. They basically destroyed everything they wanted to destroy. That was their law.
And then also, like the atheist there in the clip was telling him, he's saying that no, Germany was a dictatorship, and that's what we don't want to have here in America. That's why we have the Constitution. That's why we have things set up the way we do, and we have checks and balances. It's to prevent something like that from happening. But what people like this mayor, his name is Will Rogers, by the way, this mayor, Will Rogers, he is wanting a theocracy. And theocracies never go well. Never throughout history has a theocracy ever been a good thing. I mean, it's what's happening in the Middle East. They're an Sharia law. It's a Islamic theocracy, and we don't want that. That would be very bad. It would be bad and it would be whatever little tiny sect out of the 41,000 different denominations, they would be the ones controlling everything. And so even if you're a Christian, this should be something you don't want, because if you're a Baptist and whoever happens to be in power is wanting to run things the Catholic way, well, then you're going to have to go to mass and you're going to have to eat the little cracker and believe that you're drinking Jesus's blood. That would be the law if we allowed this overstep. It starts with small things that, like handing out Bibles in classrooms, putting monuments on public property, and praying before games, and all of those things like that. It starts with things like that. If nobody says anything, it snowballs and turns into what's happening in the Middle East.
Which is same-sex marriage. That's something that has been illegal for a very long time, and to be illegal for something that's naturally occurring in somebody's brain and body is literally just a violation of human rights. It's a violation of civil rights, and basically they've used the idea that in the Bible it states that man must be with woman, period. That's the only way of marriage. That's the traditional marriage. They're skipping a lot of things when they say that, but we won't get into that. But the same-sex marriage issue that just happened on Friday, to where it's now legal in 50 states, that's a beautiful thing. That's something that humanists and atheists have brought together more than any other religion sect. So that's not God's law. If it was up to God's law, we would still be back in medieval times, to where people are getting burned at the stake for being homosexual. I mean, that's just mind-blowing that it was ever even like that, for a human being to have to go through that for something that they can't control. They don't choose how they feel. And we want to get into the clip.
Let's watch this video.
As a reaction to the same-sex marriage happening federally across all 50 states, the Catholic Vote YouTube channel decided to make a little clip. It's about 2.5 minutes long. It involves 7 Catholics, so we'll see what they have to say. We'll discuss it right afterward, but
yeah, it's a little clip here, and we're gonna play it, and yeah.
I am a little bit nervous about people kind of hearing that I am this way and then thinking, well, she's not welcome here.
I would say I am different. We're all different.
Most people probably think I'm already weird anyway, so I mean, I don't think society's impression of me is going to change drastically based on 1 or 2 discoveries that come to light after this video. Or
pretty scary, you know? You wonder, how many people can I really, truly, honestly be open with?
I've tried to change this before, but it's too important to me. I actually think marriage is between a man and a woman.
I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. I already have an idea of what marriage should be. That will never change.
at the end of the day, I think we don't need to truly be ashamed of how we really feel about things, so just be you.
No one should be looked down upon. No one should be suppressed, or no one's views should be suppressed.
I know a lot of people who are gay. I have friends who are gay. I don't fear them, you know? They're wonderful people. I love them. What I do feel insecure about is speaking from the heart and being really open and honest about what I believe.
I mean, I love my friends. Several of them happen to be gay. How would it not be the case that the ever-loving Creator who gave us everything we have doesn't love us?
Where's that balance? You know, where can you say, no, I'm not going to be a part of this, but still respect someone?
Bigoted is a huge word that gets thrown around. It's just not true.
You cannot have a society of hatred or a society of bigotry.
I happen to know what marriage is, and I don't see how it could change.
The best way to kind of break down all these barriers, is to just get to know people one-on-one. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah, so that happened. Basically, they are deceiving you in the beginning of the video, making you think that they are an actual suppressed population, that they are actually being oppressed for their views, that they are being looked down upon, that they are that they are being told that they can't live a certain way, and then they come out saying that they believe in traditional marriage, and they're not understanding they're not understanding what the whole point is of same-sex marriage, and the fact that if you were to speak with a homosexual person or LGBT just in general, you would understand that they are just as human as you are, and that you believing that marriage is only between a man and woman should only be for yourself. That's a personal belief. That's an opinion. That's something that should not be used to tell somebody else what you think is correct and that they are wrong. That's just so ignorant. It's ridiculous. Koni, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it was very confusing because whenever you first showed it to me earlier, I didn't even notice that it was a Catholic thing. I just started watching the video and I'm like, oh, okay. They're going to be gay people. No. They're just people that believe gay people shouldn't be allowed to have rights, and they're somehow framing it as they're a suppressed population because they believe people shouldn't have rights. And I'm like, what? How?
Okay if
and you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not the only one who does.
Exactly. Like, it would be okay to say, like, I don't agree with it, but do what you want. That's your right. Have the ability. I would vote for you. I would support you. Do it. But they're acting like they are having, like, they have the best idea, and people are viewing it wrong. And it's like, no, we're not viewing it wrong. We know exactly how you feel. And there is a reaction video made by a comedy group that literally just like slaps it in the face and just goes the complete opposite direction. And they go with racism, but it's hilarious. I definitely recommend watching it. If you look up on YouTube, you'll see it's the Not Alone alternate version. But it's pretty hilarious.
We'll link it below.
Yeah, we'll link it in the comments. We want your feedback. This is our first episode. We want to do more of this. We want to expose more things. We want you guys to give us stories, things that you see personally happening to you in your area, things that haven't been reported by the news, things that we can show to the world through YouTube. Why not? We're on the internet.
Yeah.
Let's share information.
Yeah. Specifically, separation of church and state issues. We want, if you know of a church and state violation that is happening in your area and it is not being reported and talked about enough, we want to know about it, to report it in the comments below. We are still working on our website. Once our website is up, we will have a section on that website for you to send things to us.
And I'm actually a member of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, so we have a direct link. We can get them involved. We can help you guys out.
That is our biggest thing there. And so we have decided that we're going to be a 30-minute show. So we're coming up on the 30 minutes there. And so thank you so much, you guys, for watching our first show. And we want you guys involved. We don't want it to just be us yammering at each other for 30 minutes. We want you involved. So let's get those stories submitted to us so that we can have more content for future shows. And y'all, this is Koni, that atheist lady, and we will be on every Tuesday at this same time. So we will see you next week, Tuesday at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Good night, everybody.